Hey everybody, Mallett here with Creation Song Audio and Production. And in this video, we're going to continue talking about signal flow by talking about how to troubleshoot issues with audio. Now, if we lived in a perfect world, everything would always work. But we are working with machinery and electrical equipment, which gets old and sometimes breaks. And you are bound to come into contact with some audio problems. So there are different types of issues that you might encounter, from buzzes, hums, lack of sound, crackles, and pretty much any other sound you can think of your system may make when it's not supposed to. So the key to diagnosing problems is always starting at the source. One of the most common issues you'll face is grounding issues, which is power related. You'll hear this hum at about 60 hertz and it's very recognizable. So some of the ways that you can fix this problem are, a lot of direct boxes are equipped with a ground lift switch that you just flip the switch and that lifts the signal, and it might get rid of that grounding issue. Another way that you can address this is by using a ground lift adapter, which is you can pick up from a hardware store that's like the 3-prong into a 2-prong adapter. Now, these you really don't want to use very often because they're very dangerous. So you can also buy a power conditioner, which can help get rid of bad, dirty, ungrounded power, which is, while more expensive, is a much safer alternative than using a 75-cent power adapter. And then if things still won't improve and you know it's a grounding issue, you can call an electrician and have them look at and fix the grounding issues in your wiring. So the next issue you might have is a lack of sound, a crackling, or a hissing. So the first thing you want to do is check the instrument. Is it receiving power or is it turned on? I have forgotten to turn keyboards on or amps on many a time, so it happens. Sometimes you just forgot to turn it on. Or are the batteries dead? This problem usually happens with acoustic guitars that require batteries for their pickups. So you always want to have spare batteries on hand in case the battery in the guitar dies. Now the problem, if you're getting hissing or crackling, it could be cable related. First, what you want to do is check the direct box and make sure all of the switches on them are in the correct position, because if they are flipped wrong, they could be canceling out the signal. And if the direct box isn't the problem, then go to the cables. Now, 1/4-inch cables are more likely to cause you problems compared to XLR cables. It has to do with the shielding and the way signal is carried. But XLR cables could cause problems as well. So one of the first things you can do is either swap out cables, or you can use a cable tester to make sure that there are stable connections with all of the different points of the cable. Now let's say this still doesn't fix the problem and the problem isn't at the source. Then you go to the mixer. So first off, is your channel fader muted? It happens all the time. I forget to unmute things. So one of the reasons you might not be getting sound is because the channel itself is muted. And after that, you might want to check the gain structure. So the gain, if you remember, is from the preamp. And if you have too much gain on your signal, it'll cause it to clip, distort, and sound disgusting. So some of your humming or crackling could be coming from a clipping signal, which if that's the case, you need to turn the gain down and push the fader up. And if you're still having issues there, it might be you need a different channel. And we're using pieces of electronic equipment, and over time they wear out. I've experienced this more with analog equipment, where things are all powered by electricity, that over time the circuits get old and stop working, and you may have to move a channel over. More often than not, your problems with signal are usually at either the input or the mixer stage of your signal. But sometimes you may have to look at things in the amplification area. So for like a lack of sound, it could be that there's a cable issue or a power issue with the amplifier or with the whole powered speaker unit. So always make sure that the cables are plugged in, and you could have grounding issues specifically with the speakers and not with the input. So that's an example of when you could use a ground lift or using a conditioner or an electrician, any of the other things that I've mentioned in the input stage, except flipping a switch on a direct box. So if power is being sent and you're still having weird issues, then it could be cable related. You can check the speak-on cables, the XLR, the TRS cables, whatever is the connection. Or you can try swapping out amplifiers. And then if it's not the amplifier, it could be a speaker. Sometimes you might have issues because you've actually blown one of the speakers, which it's unfortunate, but it happens sometimes if you're pushing too much signal into the speaker over a period of time. So it's always need to be careful how much signal you're sending because it can cause things to wear out faster. Now, rarely do issues reach to the amplification stage, but it may happen. Audio is amazing, even though it can be daunting and scary and stressful. But just remember, whenever you're troubling, start at the source.